Hello, this is Dr. James O. Webb, and during this video, I'm going to show you how to install Ubuntu Linux 16.04 on a virtual machine. As for our agenda, first we're going to install VirtualBox 5.1, and the address for VirtualBox is here, www.virtualbox.org. And after we install our VirtualBox, we'll then install the operating system, Ubuntu. You'll find that at www.ubuntu.com. After we've finished installing Ubuntu, then we're going to add a couple installations, applications. We'll install the gedit and terminal server. Okay, let's get started. First, you're going to go to www.virtualbox.org, and you'll come to a screen that looks similar to this. At the time of this recording, VirtualBox was at version 5.1. You're going to click on the big blue box that says download VirtualBox. And once you go there, it'll give you several options as far as on what type of platform you'd like to install this VirtualBox. For this demonstration, we're going to be installing on a Windows 10 system. So we're going to select the Windows host as our platform. It will then download the application. And we'll just wait a few seconds for it to finish with the download. Okay, now I'll open it up. Okay, then it'll come up with a screen that looks similar to this. And we're going to accept all the defaults. So we'll say next, 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 yes for the network interfaces, and we'll tell it to go ahead and install. It will then go through its install process. There's a quick blink there as far as my virus protection software was checking to make sure I really wanted to let it go. Okay, and then now we're just going to leave it checked as far as to go ahead and for it to open up the VirtualBox after the installation. So we say finish. Okay, and I look in the lower right-hand corner on my system. It opened it up as a little icon, so I'll bring it up here. All right, welcome to VirtualBox. Okay, at this point, now we're going to actually create this Ubuntu virtual machine. So we select New, and when it comes up for the name, notice right now, as far as if you notice, you see the type, it says Microsoft Windows, Windows 7. That's just a default that it comes up with. But watch what happens as soon as I start typing in there Ubuntu. Automatically, you'll notice that now it changes and notices that the type of operating system I'm going to be installing is going to be the Linux Ubuntu 64-bit system. But I'm going to call this machine Ubuntu, let's call it Ubuntu 64. And I'll say next. Here's where we actually size the system. For mine, it'll be based on whatever your operating system. It'll do a little systems check to see what are the capabilities of your system. I'm going to set mine right up about 8 meg. Next. Now, here's something you have to be careful of. Notice the recommended size has to be at least 8 gig. Remember that as far as for my system here. Now, we'll just go ahead and set the default as far as create a virtual hard disk now. And I'll say create. Go ahead and make it a VDI, a virtual desktop image is what we're going to be using as far as how we're going to place the operating system on there. So you say next. As far as for the size, the physical hard drive, we're going to go with a dynamically allocated. So therefore, the hard disk will use space as it needs it. It's rather than predetermine a fixed size. Okay, so we say next. This is the thing I was telling you about earlier. You got to be careful. The default on this is where a lot of times people make their mistake. they'll accept the default here. 8 gigs is going to be too small for what we're going to be doing today because we're going to be installing applications on top of this and everything. I would recommend you take this thing up to more than 8, at least 16. But for mine, I'm going to take it up to 30. 31, that's close enough. So I'm going to allocate 30 gig because 8 is going to be too small. If you miss this step, I promise you'll come back and have to redo it. So create. There. It is now created my virtual machine. There's a few settings in here we're going to be changing in a few minutes. For right now, let's go ahead and get caught up with the actual ISO image as far as for Ubuntu. Remember, we haven't done the operating system yet. So we're going to go ahead and download what we need as far as the operating system. Okay, for the operating system, let me minimize this for a minute. That was our virtual box. We already did everything we need to there. The next is for the operating system. Remember, we're going to be doing Ubuntu. And the website for that is www.ubuntu.com. We're going to go to that site, and now we're going to download the desktop version, because again, we're installing this on our desktop. Okay, it comes up the screen. Okay, we're going to go ahead and say download. We'll accept the default location as far as where it is. Next, now, although Ubuntu is free, as far as the organization that's managing this particular site, they'll accept contributions if you want to donate. I've donated earlier, so I'm not going to even bother donating. So I'll just slide all these sliders, because here's the dollar amount that you'll be donating for these different things. I'll slide all the sliders over to the far left to 0. Again, it's great to contribute. It really helps them as far as keeping the software up to date. And now, again, because it's free, download Ubuntu Desktop. Okay. We'll just wait for a few seconds. It should start automatically. If it doesn't, then we can click here where it says download now. Okay, my download is started. This in the lower left-hand corner. Now it's going to take a while to download this because it's downloading. If you've noticed, it's downloading 14 gig. So therefore, I'm going to pause the video right now, and then I'll come back as soon as my download's finished. Okay, the download is now complete. So let me open it up. Okay, here's where it opened up. Now, for my for the actual file itself, it automatically installed it on what was called my DVD, my D drive. Instead, I want to place it somewhere else. So instead, I went to my downloads directory in order to pick it up, because I want to take the whole thing as an ISO image, and then here I'll just go ahead and I'll right click. I'll say copy, and I'm gonna put it in a location that I think will be even better, as far as for me. I've created a directory called Ubuntu Files, and so here it is, Windows, Ubuntu Files, and that's where I placed it. Okay, I placed it here earlier, but yeah, just place it wherever, someplace where you can remember. So again, off of my C drive, I created a directory called Ubuntu Files. Okay, now we have our ISO image downloaded. Let's go back to our virtual machine. Open my virtual machine back up. Now let's get started as far as with our settings. We go to the settings, and with it highlighted, we go to our settings, and let's look at a few of the settings. We're going to leave everything the way it's set up right here as far as under the basic. We'll look at advanced. Two things I highly recommend you do is here where it says shared clipboard. Currently it's disabled. I would say I'd recommend you highlight it for bidirectional and drag and drop. Make that bidirectional as well. What that will allow you to do is to be able to copy files in and out of other locations on your system, such as like your Windows directory, directly into this. You're gonna find a need for that from time to time. I guarantee it. Okay, description's fine, encryption's fine. Let's now look at the system. Again, these are some of the settings we had set up earlier when we were doing our installation. I'm gonna leave it just where it is. I got it for my base memory. I'm setting up at 8 meg. Leave the defaults the way they are. Processor. Here's one thing you might want to change. For my system, because I have additional, I can use more than one processor. I'm gonna go ahead and move this thing up to 2 or 3. Here's the limit as far as recommendations as far as on mine. I don't want to exceed that, right? This is good. Acceleration, leave those defaults. Display, I'm fine with those. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of anything that uses a lot of graphics at all. Storage. Now, storage is where we're going to install that operating system. But I'm going to show you a nice trick as far as how to do that. So we're not going to involve that. And the rest of the settings are all fine. So we'll just go ahead and say OK. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this system, and then we're going to install the operating system when it fails on us, okay? Again, this is intentional. So with it highlighted, I just click Start. Okay, this is where it's going to come up. It's going to ask us about that operating system. So let's go ahead and where it says host drive C. Yep, we'll leave it there, and we'll point it to the location as far as where we drop that ISO file. Ubuntu files, remember? And here's the operating system, that ISO file. And we'll tell it to open. So that's going to go in there. And now we'll just tell it to start. And we'll just wait for it to finish. And we just wait and let it do its thing. Okay, the next screen you'll see that'll come up will be asking us if we want to go ahead and continue with the install of the Ubuntu. And so we click Install Ubuntu. Now it's going to prompt us for a few things. One, we want to download any updates. We also want to go ahead and I highly recommend you accept third-party software. And then we say continue. Okay. Now, it's the default on here says erase disk and install Ubuntu. Go ahead and do that. I know it might sound like that it's going to erase all your files, but it's not. They're only referring to the actual virtual machine itself. So your other files are fine. So go ahead and say, leave it at the default and say install now. Okay. You want to go ahead and tell it to continue here. And then we just wait for it to do its install. Next, it's going to ask you as far as your time zone, where are you? And for my time zone, yeah, Chicago's fine. So I'll leave it as far as there. To change this, all you got to do is you click on wherever your time zone is. Okay. So I'm at Chicago, and select continue. Okay, and you'll see it based on the progress bar below. We're almost done. Okay. Now for this one, we're gonna have to open the screen up a little bit. Okay, now that I opened it up a little bit, you can now see the keys for continue. All right, so the keyboard layout. I'm using an English keyboard, so I select that and say continue. Now, they want to know a little bit about, now this is where you're going to actually be creating your username and stuff. For me, I'm just going to say James. Okay, now notice it automatically uses James as a prefix as far as my computer name, and then calls it James-VirtualBox. My username, as far as I'm using the system, is going to be James. And then you just go ahead and you select a password that you can remember. Okay, and then you confirm. Okay, you have an option here. You can set it up where it'll log in automatically, or that it requires my password to log in. Now again, although this is just the system that I know you're going to be using, I still recommend that you type in require password to log in, because that's just for some applications. You want to just make sure that you have full control of the system. Continue, and also make sure you remember whatever that password is. All right. So this is going to take a few minutes. It's doing all the installs. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it, and I'll come back as soon as the files are finished copying. Okay. Once your installation is finished, you should get a sign or a message like this. Okay, installation is complete. You'll need to restart the computer in order to use the new installation. It's not going to reboot your whole computer. It's only going to reboot just this virtual machine. So I'll click on restart now. Now, during that installation process, you should have noticed there's a lot of rich applications that are going to come with this system. But even with all those applications, we still need two more, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, and that's going to be the G-editor, as far as what we're going to be using as far as when we're programming, and we're also going to need terminal. Okay, so I'm going to also get rid of this little bar up here with the X. I don't need that. Okay, and remove the installation medium, then press enter. So now we just press enter. Our machine starting to boot. All right. If everything was successful, you should get a screen that looks like this. All right. So what I'll do now is I'll type in my password. Okay. As I said, you'll now come onto your login screen. Now, please be advised, if for some reason when you go to log in, if it doesn't work, then it'll then all you have to do is try to just kill that instance and try to start all over again. And I've noticed I've had the problem in the past where sometimes I got to this point, it failed, it wasn't responding, and so I just had to go ahead and start the instance again, and it took me back to part of the installation. You just finish it back up and then you come back to here. So now let's see if this is going to work. Yep. So you log in, press enter. Okay, and as you can see, you're going to have a system with a lot of files in it, which is very nice. And we'll let it finish setting up. You can always look on the bottom, you'll see your activity light. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a few more applications, a couple more applications. You can go up here where it says search a computer, and you click on there. It'll come up. The application we want to get, our first one, an editor. So just start typing, and you see, like, as I start typing text, then there's the text editor. This text editor is gedit. So I'll say okay, install that. And as I scroll down, here's the text editor. Now I could right click that, and I could tell it to lock to the launcher. That way I don't have to search for it. Okay, now let's close that. The next application I'm going to get is the terminal. So again, go back up to search a computer, and you start typing in the word terminal. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and get that one. And this is what my terminal server looks like as it comes up. And again, I'm going to lock that in. So right click, lock to launcher, and it's there. Again, play around with it. Again, you'll find that this is a very rich environment that you're in now. And let's see. Okay, open it up a little bit. And again, You'll see you have several, lots of applications you can use. You can go out there. You can go into the internet, Firefox. Let's go CNN.com. So again, as you can see, you have a full operating system. Okay. So have fun, and I'll look forward to working with you on the next video. Okay. Again, this is Dr. James Webb. Out.